Episode 013, Heathrow 24, Category Mega Operation Status, Firas Direft CEO Approves, Teach Ice Block. Figures pending fact, check C research, me D. Target 812 min spoken, ALU 1, 500 words, ALU 70% body cost breakdown. Right now, somewhere over London, a plane is waiting for permission to land at Heathrow. Not because the runway is broken. Because the single minute it wants, that exact slot of time, is one of the most valuable things in global aviation. A pair of them has sold for $75 million. So forget the planes for a second. The real question is, what does it actually cost to run this place for one day? Heathrow isn't really an airport. It's a city that never sleeps, built around two strips of concrete. On a normal day, around 210,000 people pass through it, more than the population of a mid-sized city, arriving and leaving in a single turn of the clock. Around 76,000 people work here. It's the largest single site employer in Britain. 4 terminals, thousands of tons of cargo a day, and all of it, every passenger, every bag, every parcel, has to funnel through just 2 runways. That constraint is the whole story. Because when you only have 2 runways, the thing you're really selling isn't space. It's time. Bucket 1. The people start with the obvious: build the workforce. The company that runs the airport employs several thousand people directly, and its staff costs run to hundreds of millions a year, spread across a single day. Just the airport company's payroll is around $1.9 million. Add in everyone else on site: airline crews, handlers, security, border force, retail, and the people working a single Heathrow day number in the tens of thousands. The visible bill is enormous, but it's still the part you expected. That's roughly $1.9 million a day, just for the airport's own staff. Bucket 2. Keeping the machine fit. Then there's maintenance. 2 runways running almost flat out can never fully close, so they're inspected, resurfaced, and cleared in tiny windows, often in the dead of night. Add the baggage systems. Miles of belts that have to move a bag from check into aircraft in minutes, every minute. Keep all of it fit, and you're spending around $1.3 million a day. Bucket 3, power. Heathrow is one of the single largest consumers of electricity in the United Kingdom. The runway lights, the radar, the jet bridges, the heating and cooling of 4 cathedral-sized terminals. The airport draws power like a small town that never goes dark. Energy alone runs to roughly $400,000 a day. Bucket 4. The cost of being ready. Here's where it gets less obvious. A huge part of running Heathrow is paying for things that mostly sit idle. De-icing fleets and tanks of fluid that do nothing for most of the year, until one freezing morning when the entire airport depends on them. Standby crews. Recovery slots held empty on purpose, because the airport runs at almost 99% of capacity. It has almost no slack, so it has to buy slack. Readiness that exists precisely so one delay doesn't cascade into 100. Averaged across the year, that readiness costs around $700,000 a day. Money spent on things you hope you never need. Bucket 5. Everything else. Then, the rest. Business rates, rents, insurance. The 1,000-line items of running a regulated piece of national infrastructure. Together, around $1.7 million a day. Add it all up: staff, maintenance, energy, readiness, and the rest. And the cost to run the company called Heathrow comes to about $6 million a day. A staggering number. But here's the strange part. That $6 million is almost the least interesting money at Heathrow. Because the most valuable asset here isn't the terminals, or the staff, or even the planes. It's this: a slot. The right to use the runway for one landing or one takeoff. 1 minute of time. Heathrow has only 2 runways, and it runs them harder than any major hub on the planet. Close to 99% of capacity, all day. There is no room to add more flights. So the minutes themselves became the scarcest thing in aviation. And airlines trade them. A single pair of Heathrow slots. One to arrive, one to leave, has reportedly sold for up to $75 million. For nothing physical. No plane, no building. Just the permission to use the runway at one time, every day. Think about that. The permission to land can cost more than the aircraft doing the landing. So here's the real answer. It costs about $6 million a day to run Heathrow. But that's not what Heathrow is selling. Strip everything away: the terminals, the shops, the lounges. And what's left is 2 strips of concrete and about 1,300 minutes a day. A landing or a take, off roughly every 45 seconds, from before dawn until the night curfew. Spread the value of all that runway time across the day, and every single second of Heathrow is worth thousands of dollars. The terminal you walk through is just the waiting room. The product was always the minute. 1 prime runway slot, valued at the trade rate, sits in the price range of a London flat. And Heathrow has about 1,300 of them every day. Refreshed every 24 hours like the world's most expensive perishable good. Because a slot you don't use today is simply gone. And even now, 3 in the morning, the runway's closed. The curfew in force. The asset still has to exist. The lights still burn. The readiness still costs. Heathrow spends its $6 million a day to keep 2 ribbons of concrete that, for a few precious minutes each, are worth more than almost anything that ever lands on them. That's the hidden cost of Heathrow. Not the planes you watch. Not the crowds you stand in. It's the timing. The one thing they're not even allowed to make more of. You don't pay for the terminal. You pay for the minute. That's what we do here. We find the bill that isn't on the receipt for the things you thought you already understood. Next time, what it really costs to launch a single rocket, and why the most expensive part has nothing to do with the fuel.